Welcome to A Word, a podcast about race and politics and everything else. I'm your host, Jason Johnson. Critical race theory used to be something that only academics talked about. But in recent months, many Republican leaders have painted it as the number one threat to democracy. But even as conservatives rush to ban critical race theory from schools, even when it's not being taught, we're joined by Professor Ibram Kendi. He's the author of How to Be an Antiracist and the director of the Boston University Center for Anti-Racist Research. He's also the host of a new podcast, Be Antiracist with Ibram X Kendi. And Dr. Ibram Kendi joins us now. Welcome to A Word.
Thank you, Jason, for having me on the show. And obviously, critical race theory has extended out to other sort of disciplines. So I've certainly been inspired by critical race theory and critical race theorists. The way in which I've formulated definitions of racism and racist and anti-racist have not only been based on historical sort of evidence, but also Kimberly Crenshaw's intersectional theory, which is she's one of the founding and pioneering critical race theorists who in the late 1980s and early 1990s said, you know what, Black women aren't just facing racism. They're not just facing sexism. They're facing the intersection of racism and sexism. And it's important for us to understand that. And that's foundational to my work. I think I mentioned, for instance, the way in which intersectional theory, which is one of the critical components of critical race theory, is foundational to being anti-racist. And so I can't imagine a pathway to being anti-racist that does not engage critical race theory. I do think some students are indeed coming into classes with a greater awareness of really structural and systemic racism. And I'm not sure, though, whether that's because they're teachers, and certainly there are many teachers who are teaching this.